So as the Israeli-Hamas war rages on, so does the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Tens of thousands of children have been killed or injured since the start of this war, and that nearly the entire population of Gaza has been displaced. Far too many people living in squalor and even wondering when they'll get their next meal, if they even get a meal. UNICEF has been on the ground, though, doing everything it can to help from the very beginning of this war. Joining me now from Gaza, UNICEF Communications Officer Salim Oweis. So, Salim, we're talking about 1.8 million cases of disease in Gaza right now. The UN specifically citing this outbreak of hepatitis A. Are you seeing that? And tell me how UNICEF is trying to help as this spreads.
Yeah, what we're seeing, Kara, is really a lot of sick children, a lot of injured children. Just today, I was in a hospital here in the Al-Aqsa Hospital, which is a public hospital. And I've been in this pediatric ward where over 100 children, that was one shift, 100 children waiting in the alleys, in the rooms, everywhere, and waiting for some health care. And that's only provided by 6 doctors and 6 nurses for that shift. Sometimes it's worse when nurses can't reach the hospital, when doctors can't reach, and everyone is really struggling to get the minimal of the basics, whether it's water, whether it's food, really the basics. So it's very, very evident when you see it in the camps. I've been there yesterday, and we could see a lot of children with skin diseases, with rashes, might be bacterial, might be fungal, a lot of different stuff. And families are struggling to get the care that they need with the lack of water supply, with the destroyed sewage system and sanitation system. Diseases are spreading so fast. And just a few days, a couple of weeks ago, we witnessed polio in the sewage water, which is a real risk to children if it's not faced heads on.
So Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu actually addressed a joint meeting of Congress last week saying, no, Gaza isn't as bad as it's being portrayed. Let's listen to what he had to say.
That's why, despite all the lies you've heard, the war in Gaza has one of the lowest ratios of combatants to non-combatants casualties in the history of urban warfare. And you want to know where it's lowest in Gaza? It's lowest in Rafah. In Rafah.
What do you make of what he said, though?
Well, I can't tell you what I'm seeing on the ground. And just during my 2 days here, whether it's in the camps or in the hospitals, I spoke to a few families, not a few, many families, and most of them has lost a child or a brother or a sister along the way, whether it's in Rafah, whether it's in the north. It's different. But also what I'm seeing is children suffering as I told you, I was in the pediatric ward, and I've seen the children who are either amputated or with burns because of the attacks, with broken bones, with bleeding livers, and that's just in a couple of hours in the hospital. I didn't see all the children. So what we're seeing on the ground is horrific. Children and families are really struggling to get a piece of bread or a little bit of water. When I was in the camp yesterday, I was faced with these children just asking me, when will this war end? And they're like hoping for some kind of answer. And it was heart-wrenching for me not to have that answer. And when I asked them, what do you do in your normal day? What's the routine? Almost all the children that I asked, they were fetching water. That's what we do, is go and try to fetch as much water as possible, come back, and then go back to the water point to get more water because it's not enough. So the situation is really hard to describe. It's horrific. And I can tell you, just coming into Gaza after 10 weeks of working on this crisis, as a communication person with UNICEF in the regional office, the reality hits you in a really strong way. It's almost surreal what we're seeing, because what you see on the TV screen is just a couple of buildings destroyed, just a family that has been displaced, or one camp. But what you see in reality is all the neighborhoods behind that one building that has been demolished, all the families, and what I saw is, I could make of, is almost all the population has been displaced, which is not far from reality, because we know that over 90% have been displaced. And when we're saying displaced, they are living in tents, living in semi-destroyed buildings. Those tents are 5 to 10 degrees Celsius hotter than the weather outside. And your news forecast, weather forecast, showed the levels of heat in the US. Here it's almost the same. It's not the hottest yet in this summer. And the conditions inside the tents they're horrible. I can't stay there for half an hour to speak to a family. It was hard for me to do that. And I can't really comprehend how thousands and thousands of families live in these conditions day in, day out for 10 months.
Well, thank God they have UNICEF, because you are at least adding some ounce, if not more, of hope every single day for these families and for these kids. Salim Oweis from UNICEF, thank you so much.